Chipping Norton, delightful old architecture.
Living near famous people who we don't really like.
It's a working market town. It's nothing like the Chipping Norton sets.
If Chipping Norton were an animal, it would be a foxhound.
Going off for the fox hunt.
Mark Steele's in town.
Thanks very much. Welcome to Mark Steele's in Town, which this week comes from Chipping Norton in the Cotswolds. Or to put it another way, bloody hell, I'm behind enemy lines tonight. Because for anyone who doesn't know, this is the home of the Chipping Norton set. That consists of everyday folk. Everyday folk such as the Prime Minister and his advisor and the ex-editor of The Sun and Jeremy Clarkson. I feel like that... who are so loved by the people that surround them. It also means that it's wonderfully peaceful here because of the Chipping Norton set. There's hardly any crime. In fact, if you ring 999, when they say, which service do you require, you can say, I'd like to borrow a horse, please, and they'll be round within minutes. This is the only place where I've done one of these shows where this has happened. When I got here, I went in the bookshop and the manager said, uh-oh, look who's here. Duck for cover, everybody. I would imagine there are probably vigilantes outside right now. How on earth did the BBC get past our border patrol? Let them in, we might as well hand the Wednesday market over to the North Koreans. Now, one way to find out what people are thinking here in Chipping Norton is, of course, to read the local paper. And you've got a very well-produced one here. It's called The Daily Telegraph. Only in Chipping Norton could the Co-op's request for a small extension be met with an official complaint on the council that this would unfairly benefit the Labour Party. That is to be admired, isn't it? What, 4 extra shells of communist biscuits? This is how Bolshevik Russia started. Fits the rifle. And so Chipping Norton, or Chippy as it's known, has a certain image. For example, I received a series of messages on Twitter about the town before I came. Someone said, I applied to go to school in Chipping Norton but couldn't afford the £250,000 dinner money. And someone put, I worked there in the early 90s. The heir to the JCB fortune owns half the place. So it was full of massive tools then and still is. And it's not just political figures who live here. There's Alex James from Blur and there's Patrick Stewart and Ben Kingsley. I bet you're forever having conversations like, I see our new postman is Salman Rushdie. Guess who I bumped into at the laundrette? Hillary Clinton. But, of course, once you get to know the place, you realise this is unfair. There's 9,000 people live in Chipping Norton. You can't all stand around going, what a nightmare. We've been invited for supper at the Camerons on the same night that we're supposed to be at the Oscars. There is clearly a mix here. It's two places fused together in many ways. There are the people, for example, who start every sentence with, we've been here 5 generations. Would you like a biscuit, Sid? I've been here for 5 generations. I'll have a custard cream. And then there are the people who go, of course, we've converted the cowshed into a sun lounge. It was 4 years after moving up from London until the building was finished, but worth it, as the children will never have to see any poor people again. Of course, we did want Ocelot to go to the state school, but... we took one look at it and we just thought, oh my God, no. Now, something that lots of you seem very proud of is saying, this is the highest point in Oxfordshire. And that is pretty impressive, I'll grant you that. You know. People go on about Tibet, but Edmund Hillary never come here, did he? Never made it to the top of the Banbury Road, did he? Because he didn't have the bottle. Apparently the altitude makes it very windy here, people say. Now, I met Alan Brain, who runs the railway club, and he said, no, lots of people come out here to retire. Of course, it don't do them no good, as the wind kills them off after a year, don't it? Of course, there's no doubt it can look very twee in Middle England here. Everything's thatched and rustic and made of beautiful stone, including the public toilet. As if someone's gone, well, if we're going to have a public convenience, we must buy one on auction at Sotheby's. You must be the only town that if someone asks if you have cottaging in your public toilets, you say, yes, a delightful 13th century cottage effect. We're getting an auger for a hand dryer. But whether it's fair or not, as I say, I know it isn't, but the town is mostly known at the moment for this Chipping Norton set. Now, for people who aren't sure precisely who they are, a writer called Peter Oborne in the Daily Telegraph came up with a guide. He said, the Chipping Norton set are an incestuous collection of louche, affluent, power-hungry and amoral Londoners. And it's lovely of you all to come. Now, Dominic Sandbrook, the historian who also lives here, replied that there are worse places than Chipping Norton up the road. And he wrote, you want louche, try Stow-on-the-Wold. Amoral, then go to Bourton-on-the-Water. And you don't know power-hungry until you've been to Moreton-on-the-Marsh. You can't argue with him. I've been to Moreton-on-the-Marsh. It's like living under the Daleks. In fact, the Chipping Norton News shows how tough life here can be. In the issue I saw, there's a headline, Town Hall Toilet Traumas. Chipping Norton Town councillors recently told tales of town hall toilets closing early, and if caught short, they have to use the fox.